What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Saturday, May 14th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay, guys, I want to apologize. Yesterday, our sports data or our fantasy data provider was sending us some of the wrong pitchers on the slate. So I apologize. Those matchups weren't good. That threw some things off for us. So we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. They caught the bug or whatever it was. They've got that fixed. So it shouldn't happen again. Thank you to everyone in the comments that pointed out the mistakes. And let's move forward with today's videos. I checked. The pitchers are good. So let's get to it. At the pitcher position, I like Julio Urias pitching against a low salary batting team, the Philadelphia Phillies. Julio Urias is giving up a .533 OPS versus lefties, a .675 OPS versus righties. He's facing 4 lefties and 5 righties. But what I like about this pick is the Phillies have only hit 8 of his last 36 pitches. That's a .222 batting average. He's $9,500 FanDuel salary, $100 less on DraftKings, averaging 27 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 2.1. Record is 2-2, pitching an average of 71 pitches per game. And he scored 28, 40, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Julio Urias here versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. Here's a value play for you. I like Jonah Heim, and he's got a 63% batting advantage over Rich Hill. Jonah Heim is batting 49% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.200 OPS versus lefties. And Rich Hill, he's pitching 14% worse to switch hitters as he does lefties, giving up a .698 OPS versus switch hitters. There's no at-bats versus Hill yet, but I like this pick because Jonah Heim is only $2,300 FanDuel salary. Now, he is $2,400 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price. And he's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .302. So I like Jonah Heim here versus Rich Hill. Okay, I also like Jared Walsh, and he's got a 31% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Adam Oller. Jared Walsh is batting 27% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .876 OPS versus righties. And Adam Oller is pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, giving up a 1.183 OPS versus lefties. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. Oh, he's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $800 more on DraftKings, and he has a batting average of .256. So I like Jared Walsh here versus Adam Oller. Now I also like Alec Bohm with a 39% batting advantage over Julio Urias. Now this would be a value play if you're not going to play Julio Urias. The splits are good, and I just think his salary is way too cheap here. So Alec Bohm bats 18% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .817 OPS versus lefties. And Julio Urias does pitch his worst ball to righty batters, 21% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .675 OPS versus righties. Now, Alec Bohm is 2 for 3 with a 1.334 OPS versus Urias, so the splits are good. The batter versus pitcher history, albeit a small sample size, is good. And he's only $2,800 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Now, he's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of .313. So he looks to be well underpriced here. So if you're not going to play Julio Urias, I definitely get this guy in my lineup. I like Alec Bohm here versus Julio Urias. Okay guys, it's time to announce the winner of our $25 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is John Guatud Stefan. John Guatud Stefan, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's $25 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. Here's another value play on both sites. I like Eli White with a 56% batting advantage over Rich Hill. Eli White is batting 23% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .732 OPS versus lefties. Rich Hill is pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 33% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .718 OPS versus righties. Now, Eli White is 0 for 2 versus Hill, but he's only $2,100 FanDuel salary, 100 more on DraftKings. Now, Eli White is only averaging 5 fantasy points per game on the season, but he scored 12, 3, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he has a respectable batting average of .281, so I like Eli White here versus Rich Hill. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. Here's another value play. I like Yohan Moncada with a 28% batting advantage over Jordan Montgomery. Yohan Moncada is batting a .732 OPS versus lefties. Jordan Montgomery pitching his worst ball versus switch hitters, 36% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .787 OPS versus switch hitters. Yohan Moncada is 2 for 3 with a 1.667 OPS versus Montgomery. He's only $2,600 FanDuel salary. He's $1,600 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .235. So I like Yohan Moncada here versus Jordan Montgomery. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. I like Xander Bogaerts with a 5% batting advantage here over Glenn Otto. Xander Bogaerts is batting a .883 OPS versus righties. Glenn Otto pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .709 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Otto yet, and Xander Bogaerts is $3,500 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .347. So I like Xander Bogaerts here versus Glenn Otto. I also like Trea Turner with a 74% batting advantage over Ranger Suarez. Trea Turner is batting 11% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .871 OPS versus lefties. Ranger Suarez is pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 63% worse than his pitch to lefties, giving up a .760 OPS versus righties. Now, Trea Turner is 2 for 6 with a .833 OPS versus Suarez. He's $3,700 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season, and he's got a batting average of .273. So I like Trea Turner here versus Ranger Suarez. Now I also like J.P. Crawford with a 19% batting advantage over Chris Bassitt. J.P. Crawford is batting a .824 OPS versus righties. Chris Bassitt throws his worst ball versus lefty batters, 17% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .717 OPS versus lefties. And J.P. Crawford is 7 for 20 with a .350 batting average and a .909 OPS versus Bassitt. So that's really good batter versus pitcher history and a pretty big sample size there. So he hits the ball pretty well versus Bassitt. He's $3,300 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season, and he's got a batting average of .330. So I like J.P. Crawford here versus Chris Bassitt. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. There's a lot of good picks here at the outfield position. A couple of home run hitters for today, Mike Trout and Aaron Judge. Mike Trout is just in a fantastic spot versus a low salary pitcher, Adam Oller. And then Aaron Judge, he's got some pretty good stats here versus Dallas Keuchel. Aaron Judge batting 6% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .982 OPS versus lefties. Dallas Keuchel giving up a .820 OPS versus righties. But I like this pick because Aaron Judge is 6 for 15 with a 1.033 OPS versus Keuchel. That's a .400 batting average. He's $4,300 FanDuel salary, $1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 15 fantasy points per game on the season. And he's been hot the past couple of games, scored 34 and 42 fantasy points, has a batting average of .305. So I like Aaron Judge here versus Dallas Keuchel.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, we picked this guy as a home run hitter yesterday, and he put up 28 fantasy points. And he's in a good spot again here today. I like Jordan Alvarez with a 42% batting advantage over Eric Fedde. Jordan Alvarez is batting 19% better versus righty pitchers, batting a 1.009 OPS versus righties. Eric Fedde is pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 23% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .834 OPS versus lefties. Now, there's no at-bats versus Fedde yet, and Jordan Alvarez is $3,700 FanDuel salary, $1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 14 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .280. So I like Jordan Alvarez here versus Eric Fedde. Now, just because of the batter versus pitcher matchup, I think I like Giancarlo Stanton. Now, the splits aren't good here. Stanton is only batting a .710 OPS versus lefties. That's 20% worse than righty pitchers. And Dallas Keuchel does throw his best ball versus righty batters, giving up a .820 OPS versus righties. But what stuck out about this pick is despite those poor splits, Giancarlo Stanton is 5 for 11, batting a .455 batting average, a 1.773 OPS, because 3 of those 5 hits were home runs. So go figure. The splits aren't good, but he crushes Dallas Keuchel here. So he's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. And this guy has been super hot, scoring 31, 61, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He has a batting average of .284. So I like Giancarlo Stanton here versus Dallas Keuchel. I also like Andrew Benintendi with a 15% batting advantage over German Marquez. Andrew Benintendi batting 11% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .804 OPS versus righties. German Marquez giving up a .755 OPS versus lefties. And Benintendi is 2 for 3 versus Marquez with a 2 OPS. And he's $2,900 FanDuel salary, $1,700 more on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .324. So I like Andrew Benintendi here versus German Marquez. Now, one of my favorite picks on the slate, I think he's underpriced, is Michael Brantley with a 51% batting advantage over Eric Fedde. Michael Brantley is batting 28% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .858 OPS versus righties. Eric Fedde pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 23% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .834 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Fedde yet. Michael Brantley is $2,800 FanDuel salary, $1,000 more on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. And this guy scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He's got a batting average of .275. So I like Michael Brantley here versus Eric Fedde. Okay, now here's another value play. Take a look at Jonathan Daza. He's batting against a low salary pitcher, Carlos Hernandez. Jonathan Daza is batting a .711 OPS versus righties. Carlos Hernandez is pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 19% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .921 OPS versus righties. So there's no at-bats versus Hernandez yet. And Jonathan Daza is $2,700 FanDuel salary, $100 less on DraftKings, averaging 5 fantasy points per game on the season, but he scored 13, 3, 21, 10, and 3 fantasy points in the last 5 games, and he has a batting average of .365. So I like Jonathan Daza here versus Carlos Hernandez.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.